1012, and it gives me 1,250 feet.
Announced the arrival of the flight from Los Angeles and Chicago.
Explosion.
And welcome, everybody, to this Wednesday, May 11th, 2016 edition of T&Z Talk. I am Tony Trupiano, and in case you're wondering why I do the intro every day, we'll ask Richard Zombek that question later in the show. Joining me now is the Z in T&Z, Richard Zombek. Richard, of course, is a prominent blogger with the Huffington Post and Liberals Unite. And we do this every single day. And so we're going to make a concerted effort at the beginning of the show, Z, to suggest how people can subscribe to the program, etc. And then we'll remind them again at the end. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning. And let me just remind everyone that you, Tony, have a plethora of years of experience in radio and broadcast, and are altogether an awesome dude.
Aww. Well, since you were writing out bills, send me, or I guess I would have to send you a check, wouldn't I? Mine would bounce, though.
I'll send you. Yeah, we were just commiserating. Well, let me do this first, and then we'll talk about what we were commiserating about. Or is that right?
Yeah.
Commiserate.
Yes, we were commiserating.
We'll talk about of which we were commiserating. I don't know. Anyway, find us at tnztalk.com. You can find our support page, our Facebook, our Twitter, every way to follow us and support us. Support is necessary to keep us going. So click on the support page and find out the many ways you can support us, either financially or morally, moral, morale. I don't know. Also, you can contact us on the contact page, and we also have a phone number that you can leave a voicemail that we may or may not play on the air at 559-898-2551. That's 559-TZ Talk 1.
Very good.
It, Tony.
Absolutely. Well, very good. We've got a lot to get to today, but I want to start with this Facebook story that is now growing like wildfire, that they were holding back on conservative content on their site. Senator John Thune, who is the chair of the Commerce Committee, is now demanding answers. My question to you is Facebook really obligated under any kind of legal limits of the law to either censor, if you will, or not censor material? Is there anything that you think jumps out at you that says, hey, Facebook really has to be fair?
No, and that said, TechCrunch, Mashable, Wired, a lot of the tech magazines did some research into this and found it basically to be total bunk. That there's no
legitimacy.
Thank you. There's no legitimacy to Thune's allegation. The other thing is that Facebook is a private company, so they don't have to. He's bringing up the fairness doctrine that he railed against in 2007. Thune, arguing at the time. And I quote, "I know the hair stands up on the back of my neck when I hear government officials offering to regulate the news media and talk radio to ensure fairness. I think most Americans have the same reaction." Of course, he's a big proponent, obviously, of Fox News. Reagan got rid of most of what was called the fairness doctrine,
yes.
which allowed equal and opposite opinions of other opinions that were aired. So Fox News has led the charge in being biased and unfairly opinionated. Now Facebook, which is slowly eating the internet, is where everyone gets their information. And Thune seems to think that Republicans and conservative media isn't getting equal time on Facebook. Now, and this is just my speculation. Maybe it's not getting as equal time because not as many conservative posts are being put up there because there aren't that many conservatives as opposed to liberals in the world. But that's just me.
No, I think that there's some legitimacy to what you're saying, and again, I just didn't really have time to explore the ins and outs of Senator Thune's comments or demands, if you will. But anytime a conservative lawmaker demands something, it automatically raises the hackles in the back of my neck. But with that said, if you're telling me what you're telling me, and I trust you as a source more than I would a Republican senator, if everybody's saying this is bunk, then it's bunk.
Well, let me just read what Steve Bannon wrote from Rachel Maddow's blog.
Okay.
It says, right off the bat, it's difficult to understand how Congress has any oversight responsibilities towards a private social media company. I haven't the foggiest idea if Facebook puts its thumb on the scales to help the left with trending topics. The evidence is thin at best based on the word of anonymous contractors. But let's say for the sake of conversation that the allegations are 100% accurate. Then what? How exactly would federal lawmakers justify intervening in Facebook's ideological practices? So, that is absolutely right, and it's a very strong argument. And there is absolutely nothing, as far as I know, Tony, that Congress could do. I mean, they certainly couldn't force a private company to favor or not favor a particular ideology. And not only that, where's he getting his information? Is it his Facebook feed? Is it his friend's Facebook feed? Is he posting things that his friends aren't seeing? Maybe he's not that popular. Maybe his friends are blocking him. If I was friends with him, I'd be blocking him. There are too many variables that go into something like this to actually justify even this argument. And it could take years in court to prove that they were doing anything untoward.
Well, with all that being said, and I appreciate you, and I hope you're right about this. I really do, because I think it's important that we get the truth out. It bothered me because it was kind of becoming a big story yesterday, and I when I saw it in the morning, it was a couple different posts here and there, and then by mid-afternoon it was freaking everywhere. And so I'm glad that you had a chance to explore this a little bit. And anyway, that's where we're at with Facebook.
Well, and the thing is, Tony, is there are a lot of things that are unfair with Facebook. You and I have noticed that. I mean, really, we're not going to get any kind of play on our Facebook page unless we want to dump $600-700 a month into paid advertising on Facebook. They determine what you see. They determine what you see from your friends, and they decide what goes on your wall. Your friends don't. You don't see all of your friends' posts, and they don't see all of yours. So, it's hit or miss with Facebook.
Yeah, I just read a story that on average, now we're talking about really millions upon millions of people. On average, a person spends 50 minutes a day on Facebook, and Facebook wants, of course, more of your time. But 50 minutes a day, that's 50, is on an average, is a huge chunk of time.
Yeah, well, Yeah. I mean, look, this is what aggravates me the most. The other day, I think I told you my mother-in-law was visiting, and I don't know whether or not, she was good luck or a curse while visiting, not because of her personality, but, while she was here, I got a call for a writing gig, so I figured, great, oh, good, she's a lucky charm. But then also the dishwasher broke and the toilet overflowed. So, and the dishwasher broke because, it's an older dishwasher, and the little flap at the bottom of the door that keeps water from spilling out had eroded. So I had to get that replaced. And of course, I went onto Google to find what part I needed and where I could get it. And since then, every advertisement on every website, including Facebook, is about home appliances.
Yeah, that drives me nuts.
Well, yeah, and it's crazy, right? I mean, you want to find out how to get rid of ants, and the next thing, all you see are like ads for Raid, and Facebook is tied into that search query so that advertisers can better pinpoint you on what you're doing, and they make a tremendous amount of money doing this. So the same holds true for if you want one of your posts. I mean, you see that, right? One of your posts is doing 90% better than all the rest.
Oh, yeah.
And then you go and look thinking that thousands of people have seen it, and it turns out that 50 people saw it, and they want you to pay,
boost
$5,
this post.
$10, $20 to boost it. And if you don't, more people don't see it. So, that's their model, and we're stuck with it.
No question. Well, this brings us to another thing we were just talking about. You're talking when you and I got ready to do the show. You said you were paying bills and cable. The cable bill is out of control. And so we're not going to get into the specifics of what it costs you, but we should talk just very briefly, if we can, about trying to reduce your cable bill and how impossible that is to do.
Yeah, well, and here's the other thing too, is that the FCC just recently passed a ruling that the boxes and set-top boxes that we all have to lease and rent from the cable companies, right? Well, they ruled that consumers should be allowed to go out and get their own. Okay? So what that means is that, for example, if you have Comcast, you've got your decoder that you're paying whatever, $10, $20 a month for, which, is a good chunk of change at the end of the year. And that you should be allowed to go out and buy your own decoder for $129 from, Best Buy or, Radio Shack while it still exists, and set that up, and then just pay for your cable and not have to rent that box from your cable company, which seems pretty reasonable, right?
No, I think so.
I mean, that's protecting consumers. That's, a good idea. Well, and I'm not even going to say guess who's opposed to it, because it's a majority of Republicans who are receiving large sums of money for their campaigns from Comcast that are opposing this, that's saying that it's illegal, it's unconstitutional, that the head of the FCC has no right to do this, blah, blah, blah. And there was a huge controversy about the head of the FCC because he was a former Comcast executive. And people believe that he was going to favor the telecom companies, and in fact, he hasn't. He's passed some really good rules. He's doing some great work, and this is one of them. And the Republicans are adamantly opposed to allowing consumers to buy their own, and these set-top boxes to rent. It's literally billions of dollars to the telecom companies per year.
Well, you're right, it is. And I was telling Z a story that I tried to, this was over a year ago, reduce my cable bill. And so I called the cable company, which was Comcast, by the way. And I said, listen, I don't really watch the movie channels. I know they're bundled in, and there are 7 or 8 of them, whatever, Stars and whatever, HBO. And I really don't watch them. And I didn't want to keep on paying for something that I wasn't using. And I would have saved $3 a month by getting rid of them. So I said, what if I go to basic cable, which just has your, the Weather Channel, ESPN, whatever, your local stations, and that would have saved me $9 a month. And so it's not worth it.
Yeah, well, I used to, Bob Sullivan used to write the Red Tape Chronicles or something like that for NBC or something, and he's on his own now. He, I think, whatever station he was working for completely got rid of any kind of consumer protection that they were talking about. And he recently wrote an article about skinny TV, right? Is basically getting basic cable if you absolutely need it, possibly an antenna for TV that's still available on the airways, getting just internet, and then subscribing to things like Showtime and Hulu and Amazon Prime and things like that. And that even with that, you really only end up saving maybe $100 a year.
Yeah.
When it should be thousands that you're saving. I mean, think about it. I mean, the cable bill, I have like hardly anything. It's not like I have all these movie channels and everything like that, and I'm paying over $200 a month for internet connectivity and cable. And here's the thing: is Comcast in my town, because they donate internet connectivity to the schools, have a monopoly in my town. I can't get anything else but Comcast. I'm not allowed to.
Oh, my, oh, my. Well, cable competition is available, but, the reality is, and everybody knows this, so let's say you have cable company A that provides you your internet and cable. Internet company B has a deal that if you switch to them, it would save you, let's say, $40 to $50 a month. So you say, I'm going to do that. And that deal, of course, is good for a year. Well, that's all well and good. And so let's say you make the switch. And a year from now, when they bump your bill $70 a month, you call and you complain, and you have one of two choices. You can either go to another cable provider, or you can negotiate, and you can negotiate a better rate, better, not great. The problem is you can't keep switching. It's a pain in the ass to do it. And they know this. They know that most people, Z, aren't going to take the time to do this on a yearly basis. And they bank on that. And there was a time where you could call, because I know I've done this lots of times, and get a significant discount if you agreed to, let's say, a 3-year deal with them. I don't do that anymore. And even if you say, hey, listen, let me talk to a supervisor, it gets you nowhere.
Yeah, well, and one of the things my wife typically does is every 6 months or so, she'll call up and she'll go, hey, listen, you're offering new customers $99 a year for them to sign up. So you're basically rewarding new customers on the backs of your old customers rather than rewarding your old customers for sticking with you for 10 years. And for some reason, her argument seems to work. Here's the other thing, too. This is kind of funny, Tony, is once that happens, right, we'll call, we'll get it reduced. You don't know when it goes up again, whether it's 5 months, whether it's 7 months, 6 months, whatever. There's no set time. It's pretty much arbitrary. And if you try to guess when it's going to go up, like let's say they said, we'll give you this for the next 6 months. And then, 5 months and 3 weeks later, you call and go, hey, listen, I know it's going up. Oh no, you called too early. You're right before the cutoff period. You haven't, it's like they have this secret number of days within which you can call, and then you try calling 2 days later, and they go, oh nope, you missed it. The cutoff was yesterday. And so they just continue to screw people and screw with them, and it just it gets to the point where it's so frustrating. I had an issue with my mortgage last month, and it basically took me the better part of the afternoon to call, get transferred, send faxes, talk to a human being, get shoved through a phone tree, and still it's not resolved. It's not resolved, and it's been 10 days.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Well, there's nothing more frustrating than literally wasting an entire afternoon on trying to right a wrong. I have a similar situation with some medical bills. I spent some time in the hospital at the beginning of the year, twice actually. And they, both the hospital and the individual doctors that see you in the hospital billed the wrong insurance company. So when they got their notice that, I wasn't covered under that insurance, well, right away they become rabid bulldogs and they start calling you and sending you threatening letters. So I have had to literally call each and every one of these providers' offices and tell them you billed the wrong insurance. I switched. You guys didn't get it right. It's not my fault, but guess who pays for it in the end? I do. Yeah, and I still have a stack of bills literally sitting right in front of me, medical bills, that need to go to the other insurance company. And I'll be honest with you, I have procrastinated, and I'm not a procrastinator by nature, getting on the phone and doing it because I know it's going to waste an entire afternoon. Because it's not just one phone call. I have to call 10 different providers who still haven't billed the right insurance. So, yeah, I understand the frustration. I truly do. Anyway, the day after primary day, and here we sit. Now, the funny thing is, Ted Cruz returned to the Senate yesterday, and after, taking a couple weeks off, and the first thing he does is an interview with Glenn Beck, where he says if by some miracle he wins the Nebraska primary, that he would jump back into the race. Well, there was no miracle. He got his ass handed to him. Trump easily won Nebraska. So Ted Cruz will stay away, but we can add him to the list of people that have not yet endorsed Donald Trump. And how could he? But, I say that. Yesterday, we talked briefly about Marco Rubio being very tepid. Well, Ted Cruz is also being very tepid. And Paul Ryan has now made a statement that the meeting that is going to happen tomorrow between he and Donald Trump is not necessarily going to be a peace accord. And he is on record as saying that the GOP won't unite in a week. So I don't know that Donald Trump walks away with an endorsement from Paul Ryan. And by the way, Paul Ryan does have a primary opponent. And in spite of what Sarah Palin said, which we played the audio on the show yesterday, Paul Ryan is extremely popular in his conservative district and has nothing to worry about, including whether or not to endorse Donald Trump, where they polled and the vast majority of the people in his district think that Paul Ryan is handling Trump appropriately.
Yeah, he's very popular in his home state.
All right. Well, let's get to some audio. And there's one that you pulled a couple days ago that had an accompanying article that was really fascinating. It's the 10 Republicans who hate Donald Trump, and that list is growing. But and how is it growing? But let's take a listen to that audio because I think it's really interesting.
Only way we lose this election is to nominate somebody that cannot grow the party's vote among minorities, young women, and the coalitions we need to win.
If Donald Trump wins this nomination, he can come down here to Miami and work on his tan. To use a Trumpian term, Hillary was going to schlong him in the general election. It's going to be an absolute rout. He pulled out because he wanted to make money for himself, because he cares more about himself than about regular voters.
He's Donald Trump. He's, it's all aggression. It's all ignorance. It's all the time. Like we had the week that we had with Donald Trump, he's a catastrophe for the party. And will be known for 100 years from now. People will say, well, who was the biggest loser in American politics? And it won't be McGovern, it won't be Dukakis, the word Trump. And I hope when he's down there in Hades, he's aware of all that.
The screamers and the crazy people on the alt-right, as they call it, who love Donald Trump, who have plenty of Hitler iconography in their Twitter icons and
they
things.
Sure do. I can back that up.
Donald Trump is the greatest thing. Oh, it's something. But the fact of the matter is most of them are childless single men who masturbate to anime.
Trump is the wrong kind of pushback. I think in many ways he's just like the establishment. He cares about power. He doesn't really care about things like the Constitution.
No, he's like a comedian or like a showman or something.
And in my experience, the strongest person usually isn't the loudest one in the room.
You cannot insult your way to the presidency. You can't disparage women, Hispanics, disabled people. Who is he kidding?
Yeah, and also don't think Donald Trump has the character or judgment to be president, because I think he'd be a terrible nominee and a terrible president. He should not be commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the United States.
Donald Trump is a phony, a fraud. His promises are as worthless as a degree from Trump University. He's playing the members of the American public for suckers. He gets a free ride to the White House, and all we get is a lousy hat.
And I think he thinks that almost all of it is a game. I think it's a reality TV show for him. I mean, I don't think this guy has any more core principles than a Kardashian marriage.
It will tear the party apart. It will divide conservatism, and we're going to lose to Hillary Clinton, have the third term of Barack Obama.
I think Donald Trump's domestic and foreign policy is gibberish.
Somebody has solutions that will never work, that is playing on people's prejudices and the dark side of politics. That's what I see.
Yeah, well, Lindsey Graham's right, and Mitt Romney and everybody else that was in that piece of audio, Z. And
yeah, let me just read down real quick who they were. Okay, so there's Lindsey Graham, Justin Amash, he's one of yours, right?
Amash, yes, Justin
Amash, yeah. Barbara Bush, George Bush, Jeb Bush, David Brooks from the New York Times, Bill Kristol from the Weekly Standard, Mitt Romney, of course, Ben Sass, Nebraska Republican, and two GOP strategists, Tim Miller and Rick Wilson.
Okay,
that's the list. And in the article, they say, what do they say? The entire early 2015 Republican Party.
Yeah, it's
68% dislike Trump.
It's bad. It's really bad. Which we look at the PPP poll that came out that showed that Lice was more popular than Donald Trump,
and Nickelback,
and amongst women, cockroaches are more acceptable than Donald Trump, and we could go on. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But when we take a look at that PPP poll, still the vast majority of Republicans would vote for Donald Trump because they are Republican.
Yeah.
So let the voter beware.
Yeah, it still terrifies me, Tony, that based on Democrat voting, that we might have a President Trump. Not only that, but, in a lot of polls, and you and I were kind of talking about this briefly yesterday, that he and Hillary Clinton are tied in some polls. She beats him by 2 points in others. He beats her by 2 points in others.
She also beats him by 13 points in some. And so polling being the unexact science that it is just blowing my mind.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. Bernie, of course, beats him.
Yeah, but,
handily.
we talked about this yesterday. How is it that he can do so well in a poll like that, but against Hillary Clinton nationally, he's losing by double digits? I don't understand how that works. I really don't understand that.
Well, I think it kind of makes sense.
In what way? I don't see where.
Well,
it
you
makes
put
sense.
put him up against Trump, he beats the crap out of him. You put him up against Hillary, it's neck and neck in some polls. Some polls she's winning. Some polls he's winning. We're talking about two Democrats versus someone basically out of the phone book and Trump. I'm not saying that Bernie Sanders is basically out of the phone book, so don't leave me any nasty voicemails. I'm saying I think you could pick someone out of the phone book and they would beat Trump.
Well, I don't know that that's true. I really don't know that that's true. I really am very, very concerned about the Democrats' laziness when it comes to voting. And again, we're in a situation where people are now assuming that Trump will lose. And when I ran for the Michigan House a couple years ago, people actually told me they didn't vote because they were sure I was going to win. Well, you can be sure of that, but you need votes to do it.
Right. Well, and we talked about that too, that Democrats tend to go, oh, Trump's run. Oh, come on. He's never going to win. So there's no point in me going out to vote. And I think that happens more often than we would like to admit.
Absolutely. No question. I couldn't agree more. All right. So I want to go back to a conversation we had yesterday. I told you that I had posted an article from The Hill, which is a D.C. publication, that had a poll that they were writing about that showed that the dream ticket for Democrats would be Hillary Clinton and Elizabeth Warren. And I posted it saying that there's nothing nefarious in my posting this. I just, would you get behind this ticket? It became, after the first post, an anti-Hillary post. All right. That all being said, lots of comments, lots and lots and lots of replies. And at the end of the day, I just am sick and tired of the vitriol between the two camps. With that said, Elizabeth Warren has become really a very nuanced critic of Donald Trump and has been a wonderful guardian of the Democratic Party in that regard. What was the name of the guy that got beat by Elizabeth Warren?
Oh, my good friend, Scotty Brown.
Well, Scotty Brown decided to ring in on Elizabeth Warren, and I think he's doing that because he knows that, well, she's gaining a lot of traction, and we'll talk about her options on the other side of this piece of audio. But this is what Scott Brown had to say about Elizabeth Warren.
Well, speaking of tweets, Elizabeth Warren went a little nuts last night. I don't know if you saw this. She's got tweet after tweet after tweet going after Donald Trump. What do you think of this?
Is she drunk tweeting now?
It's so funny you said that, because I envision her with a glass of Chardonnay in Cambridge, and here she is, talks about equality for all. She lives in a gorgeous home, and I guarantee that she was half in the bag tweeting last night. So I am with you about that. At 10:46 at night, I think she had a little a little white wine. But saying things like there's more enthusiasm for Donald Trump among leaders of the KKK than leaders of the political party he now controls.
Yeah, toxic stew is your favorite, Jacqueline.
Yes.
And she's going to fight her heart out to make sure Donald Trump's toxic stew of hatred and insecurity never reaches the White House.
Well, first of all, what she says is completely irrelevant. It doesn't matter. She had her chance to make a difference. She hasn't even bothered to endorse anybody. So it just is a continuation of her phoniness and her inability to make decisions that really have her stand on her own 2 feet. All she does is yell and criticize and demean and belittle people instead of working for the people of Massachusetts. Videotapes it, puts it out on YouTube, raises money off it. I mean, she's been there almost a full term, and she's done nothing. She's got no bills, no amendments, nothing passed. With respect, I was there for 3 years and had the Hire a Hero, the insider trading, the crowdfunding bill, the 3% withholding, the Arlington Cemetery bill, and her predecessors prior to me had incredible legislative histories. So I guess if it's the new norm to go down there and yell and scream at people and divide people, then she's doing a great job at that.
No love lost there, I suppose.
People don't care. Donald Trump and his supporters, I can tell you for a fact that there are a tremendous amount of support in the leadership. This is what happens when you actually have a legitimate debate, and when you have 17 down to 3, down to 2, down to 1. This is what happens. You have many, many different opinions. You're going to have bruised egos and people upset. But ultimately, they recognize, as the people of Indiana recognize, that Hillary Clinton is a flawed candidate. She even lost with women.
Yeah.
She's accomplished nothing.
So I've got 21 sponsored legislation from Elizabeth Warren that I'm looking at just for 2016.
Yeah. And again, they're in the minority, so let's keep that in mind as well. But Scott Brown doesn't want to talk about the reality. He just wants to go after the woman that mopped the floor with him, number one. And, of course, he was a failed candidate in another state, but we'll leave that for another discussion.
I want to just briefly, okay? So the Equal Employment for All Act, the 21st Century Glass-Steagall Act, the Trade Transparency Act, the Fed Accountability Act, the Bailout Prevention Act, the Save Benefits Act, the Behavioral Health Coverage Transparency Act, Tax Filing Simplification Act, FAA Community Accountability Act, Genetic Research Private. I mean, all of these, every single one of her bills and legislation that she's putting forward is basically to protect consumers. And let's not forget that she was the brainchild behind the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
Yeah, I need to interrupt. I've got some breaking news. Paul Ryan just gave a press conference and said that there's no, I'm quoting him now directly, no good in pretending we're united.
Good for him.
So he also was there to talk about the opioid dependence bill that has been languishing in the House that looks like it's going to get not only a hearing, but some funding. Will it be enough? Probably not, but it'll be a good start.
Yeah.
But like I said, his quote is, no good pretending we're united. Because they're not. They're not united, no question about it. Anyway, back to a Hillary Warren ticket. That's a possibility for her, for Elizabeth Warren. Another possibility, of course, is she could become the majority leader in the Senate. And I wouldn't have a problem with that either. I just want her to have a leadership role and continue to be the common sense voice for everyday Americans, because she is that.
Yeah, and speaking of breaking news and consumer protection, Google has announced that it will be banning payday loan advertisements.
Good.
Something that I'm sure Debbie Wasserman Schultz is going to be really pissed off about.
She'll get over it.
She's all about protecting the payday lenders in her state.
Well, that's because they contribute handsomely to her campaign coffers.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah, I hope that when whoever the Democrats elect as president finds a real chairperson for the DNC. She has been a profound disappointment, profound, and she's been around way too long. But hey, that's just me. All right, let's get to some results last night. And of course, Donald Trump won. Big deal. Okay. Bernie Sanders won in West Virginia. But again, we take a look at the delegate math, and it doesn't matter. He needs to win 65 to 70% of all the delegates between now and June 7th. And it's literally impossible for that to happen. At the same time, Hillary Clinton had gone from running against Bernie Sanders to running against Donald Trump, and her campaign is now rethinking that. Not that they're concerned she's going to lose the nomination. They're concerned that she will lose out some of the remaining states, really tarnishing the more populist part of being the nominee.
Do you want me to respond to that?
You do this every day. So, yes, when I stop talking and there's silence, that's when you talk.
Well, I think she does. She is kind of concerned with Bernie.
No, that's not addressing what I said. She's going to get the nomination. There's no way that's not going to happen. See, it's not going to happen. He's not going to get the nomination.
I know.
So, again, I believe that she's now refocusing her efforts on the primaries so that she doesn't go out losing many of the last few states. That's what I was asking you to comment on.
I think you're right. I mean, I think they're concerned with optics at this point.
Yes, very much so. And she's now spending money in Kentucky that she wasn't planning on spending, and maybe it won't do any good. I think it will, but I don't know that.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I said go. You can go.
No, please.
Oh God, maybe we do need marriage counseling.
I think it's the same thing we've been talking about with optics, right? Of how the GOP would have viewed when we didn't know that Cruz and Kasich, whatever the hell he was doing, were going to drop out. Was can the Republican Party really not put Trump up as a nominee when it looks like he, and it was the optics of the rules, right? Of that you need a majority, and what does majority of delegates mean, and what does that represent, whether it's mathematically or statistically. And I think Hillary has the same problem. If you look at West Virginia, what happened yesterday, Bernie Sanders won every single county. And I think he only walked away with 3 more delegates than her in West Virginia. So the optics of that look pretty bad.
Yeah, but at the same time, Z, again, go back to a conversation we had 2 or 3 weeks ago. The rules aren't any different than they were the last time around, or the time before that, or the time before that, or the time.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean they're right, Tony.
It doesn't matter. I'm saying that now that people are paying attention, all of a sudden it sucks because their candidate can't get the traction they want. Well, the same thing happened to Hillary Clinton in 2008.
Yeah, but who cares?
Well, people that supported Hillary Clinton care.
What I'm saying is that the rules stink, and just because more people are paying attention right now. I mean, look, Maine just passed a rule that that eliminates the power of the superdelegates at a convention. Okay, so we're on the right track here. We're going in the right direction, and we have delegates that basically are going against the will and the vote of the people who are voting. So it's making primaries irrelevant. I mean, why not just have the delegates come out and say, hey, look, this is who we're picking?
Because the vast majority of the time, the delegates that are earned through the primary process are enough to get a candidate the nomination, and superdelegates don't factor in. And that is largely true for Hillary Clinton as well. So now the rules of how they're portioned out certainly should and can come under scrutiny, and whether or not there will be change. But you and I both have seen this in politics a million times. In the heat of the moment when it's happening, people are demanding change. This has got to change, and we can't continue to do it this way. And then nothing happens. As an example, gerrymandering. There's not enough political will on either side of the aisle to get rid of gerrymandering. There just isn't. That's going to be true with the primary process, both in the Republican and Democratic Party, although they independently decide how to do it. And Maine can pass all the rules they want. The reality is, at the end of the day, without the political will to change it, and I don't think it's going to be there, it won't change.
Yeah, I just, I don't even. I know you love that. I don't even know where to go with this, because Sanders took every single county and got 16 delegates, and Clinton got 11. So I was wrong. It was 5. She got 5. He got 5 more delegates than her. And the process, the optics aren't good. So going back to our previous conversation, or previous part of our conversation, Hillary Clinton has to continue to beat Sanders just on optics alone. So really, for her campaign, it's a complete waste of money, because she's going to get all the delegates anyway. She just has to advertise to get people out to vote in order to make it look like she beat him fairly.
Right. And, again, I'll go back to West Virginia. We discussed this very briefly yesterday. Nobody expected Hillary Clinton to beat him in West Virginia. No one did. There was no projection. There was no prediction. There was no discussion that Hillary would beat him. It was his demographic, which he has proven in the 19 states that he has won. White voters. I mean, just basically white middle-class voters, which is what West Virginia is made up of. By the way, just to switch topics for a moment before we run out of time this morning, I was listening to NPR yesterday when I was out and about. And there was a great expert on from New York law, or wherever the hell he was from. And he was talking about the North Carolina bathroom bill. And this was interesting. Although PayPal and other businesses and entertainers are now not coming to major cities in North Carolina. North Carolina is basically a rural state. And 90-something% of the lawmakers come from rural communities that aren't affected by PayPal or Bruce Springsteen or anybody else. And so that's why this has become such a non-issue in North Carolina, and why Governor McCrory has emboldened himself to be some kind of moral leader on this issue. Because the vast majority of the state is outside of the big city, and ergo, those people support the HB2 law that has caused so much controversy, and I really hadn't thought of it that way, Z.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it's going to help the state, particularly with the tourist industry. I mean, England put it up as a place not to go to if you're visiting America.
Oh, that reminds me, and I don't remember the newly elected mayor of London who is a Muslim. But according to, Donald Trump's world, he would not be allowed to come to the United States. Donald Trump made a statement the day before yesterday that, no, he would make an exception for him and would welcome him with open arms into this country, in which the newly elected mayor said, yeah, thank you, but no thank you.
Yeah, and in the new London mayor's world, Trump is ignorant.
In my world, in your world, in the world of many people.
Sadiq Khan is his name.
Yeah. Anyway, seems like a really nice man, and watched his press conference afterwards. It was really well done.
He's probably a terrorist.
Yeah, well, all Muslims are.
Yeah. No, just most of them, Tony, and all it takes is most of them.
You're right.
That was a quote from Eric Cartman of South Park, by the way.
Okay. Sorry, not a big fan of the show. Not opposed to it, just not a fan of the show. All right, we
do need counseling.
No, we don't. We just need time, and something I don't have right now. Anyway, The Daily Show rings in on Donald Trump, as only The Daily Show can, so why don't we listen to that?
For more on this growing rift in the Republican Party, we turn to senior political analyst Jordan Klepper, everybody. The Republican Party seems to be in total disarray.
Trevor, this Republican crisis couldn't be more serious. The grand old party of Lincoln and of Reagan is tearing itself apart before our eyes. And all because its voters, after years of hearing waterboarding's not torture and Obamacare's worse than slavery, they listened and picked Donald Trump.
Jordan?
I'm good. Trevor, it is serious and historic. Even President George W. Bush is now forced to reject his own party, not least due to the Great Recession his dumb policies helped. There it goes again.
Jordan, what's going on with you?
Trevor, they were all such assholes for so long. And they completely did this to themselves.
Yes, but Jordan, there are real consequences.
Yeah,
here.
Donald Trump is super dangerous. But right now, you have to appreciate the irony. I mean, the wall, Palin, the birth certificate.
You know what? I can't deal with this. Can we? Let's go to Trump headquarters, where Hassan Minhaj is also covering the Republican crisis. Everyone.
Thank you, Trevor. The Republican Party establishment is in tatters. I'm sorry. Tatters. Like a dog that chewed its own balls off. I'm sorry, it's just too funny.
I know,
dude. Rick Perry called him a cancer. Now he's on the Trump cancer train, just like choo-choo.
Guys.
Ted Cruz's dad killed Kennedy.
Oh,
that's a thing now.
Stop it.
That's a thing. Everyone's like, yeah, that's a thing. I believe it.
Jordan, what is going on in your... Are you peeing your pants? Jordan, please, Jordan. This is so embarrassing.
I know. I don't think the Republicans are ever going to get over it. I'll tell you this much. I'll have this mess cleaned up before July, unlike the GOP.
It's like a dog
really
eating its own balls.
Yeah, it's really the only way to talk about Trump, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, again, we go back to Rachel Maddow's PPP report on the show day before yesterday. And, again, as unpopular as he is, as ridiculous as he appears to be, and people are embracing, the vast majority, 80% of Republicans said they would vote for him. Not 80% of uneducated, not 80% of white men, 80% of Republicans.
Yeah.
It's got to scare you a little bit. By the way, Donald Trump said that there's no need yesterday, no need for civility, that people have voted for provocativeness.
Well, I like how he and his spokespeople are saying he is now the Republican Party.
Well, he is.
And he was saying that in response to Paul Ryan, that Paul Ryan better get in line because Donald Trump is the Republican Party.
Yeah. Do we have time to get to the Fareed Zakaria audio? It's a little longer, and we've got about 5 minutes left.
Well, it's a 4-minute piece.
It's up to you.
Let's play it tomorrow. I really want to get to it because I think it deserves more of a conversation about how businessmen run governments and how it's not the same thing. And there's some other stuff we can talk about, too, because there are basically 3 other oligarchs turned governor who are completely destroying their states. So maybe we'll talk about that on tomorrow's episode.
I happen to live in one of those states.
I know you do.
Yes, I do. Well, then let's get to the ex-McCain aide going after Trump after John McCain had a chance to do it this weekend and, passed on that opportunity.
Yeah, oddly enough, you had to go to the 2 clips that I had to bleep yesterday. So here's McCain's former aide on a radio show.
What month did he go after McCain?
Oh God, I don't even remember when it was. It was the summertime. It must have been.
Now McCain is a guy. It pissed me off. He went after Serge Kovaleski, New York Times.
Yeah, well, that was the one that really did it for me. I mean, I've had an opinion on Trump for 30 some years, but it was making fun of a guy's disability. What kind of asshole does that?
True.
I mean, you don't want a guy like that for a neighbor, for a friend, for a member of your church, for a colleague, for a boss. You wouldn't want you wouldn't, if he had a flat tire, you wouldn't put over and offer to help. So why would anybody want to vote for a guy like that?
You give him a comb.
Yeah.
So I was the Serge Kovaleski thing even more than the McCain thing?
In a way,
because that one got me.
We're in the business. McCain's in the business. He's a tough guy, and it obviously that deeply offended me. I talked to him.
Mark Salter, that's McCain's former aide.
Well, again, the incredulousness in his voice. I mean, beyond what he said, the incredulousness in his voice really says a lot. One of the real benefits to doing a radio type format is without the benefit of a visual is you really have to key in on people's tonation and inflection. Now I've been doing this a long time, so maybe I'm a little more sensitive to that. But you can really hear in his voice the disgust and dismay over the Donald Trump phenomenon.
Yeah, and I think both you and I pay close attention to what people say, how they say it, the inflection in their voice, the way they deliver what they're saying, the pauses that happen in that. I've always paid attention to that for a myriad of reasons. But, also I think what this shows, and, going back to the Scott Brown interview, is the level of personal attacks that are happening in politics right now. And Scott Brown is a douche. That's the only way I can say it. I was part of a group of people from Americans for Fairness in Lending and AFL-CIO that went to Washington to lobby for financial reform after the financial crisis. And I went to Kerry's office because he was one of the senators at the time, and to Scott Brown's office. And Scott Brown's office, one of his aides actually threatened to sue me for the article that I wrote. And no one has ever heard of anything like that happening. And the way that he treated Elizabeth Warren with the tomahawks and the Native American jokes and things like that. And then we have this where, this guy is in complete disbelief that a presidential candidate would act and talk this way publicly, much less at all.
Yeah. Well, we're going to leave it there and wrap it up. That's where I throw it back to you very quickly.
Yeah, let me remind people once again that they can go to tnztalk.com. You can find our phone number. You can leave us a voicemail. You can email us, contact us. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and check out our Patreon page. Click on support. Find out how you can support us if you'd like to be a sponsor of the show. And any other ways that you can support us by going to iTunes or Stitcher or Spotify or Google and rating us and reviewing us.
All right.
Tony?
All right. Well, listen, we are out of time for today. I want to thank everybody that is listening, subscribing, downloading, etc. Continue to do so and to share that experience with others. In the meantime, I am Tony Trupiano for Richard Zombeck. We'll be back on Thursday. And as always, we ask that you be well.